People. I was thinking that there were going to be no people. Your desk so gross.
It just looks like it's still happening.
Oh my god.
It's fine, I guess.
I got sprayed within an inch of its life Thursday. I don't know why, but I noticed the whole desk and everything was wet. It can take it. Good morning. Hey, Ivy. We're all getting situated here. There's a new monolith. Have you seen it? United Kingdom, England. I had to search to find it. The Isle of Wight. I don't know where that is. It's be a great trip once the pandemic's over. Oh, I think I'm getting ads there. Go to all the places that there was a monolith during the pandemic. Something to do. Everybody's been working so hard. I've been seeing stuff. Get our plans up. Today, let's see, we've got everybody. People here, people there, people everywhere. Don't forget to join the Zoom session because I'm using it for attendance. So I can come back and do it kind of after the fact and sort of review in my head. Get everybody in here. Today we'll start looking at our MTA resources and have some lab time. So our main thing is to start getting familiar with what all we have available for preparing for the MTA. We have a lot of resources. Always just going through trying to make sure all the links were good and stuff. Because, you know, Microsoft just made a bunch of changes to certifications. So if you go out there looking, it can be kind of hard to find our stuff right now. Things are definitely in flux. Microsoft likes to do that. We're in this technology field that is constantly changing. So yay, it's fun. Let's see what we got. First of all, if you look at your modules for lesson 15, there is a lesson, you might have already seen it and done it. It is some self-study material on MVC. And when you get into it and are looking at it, you'll see MVC is a implementation of ASP.NET, the web-based interface. And so there's some really nice training out here available. They put a few questions about MVC on your MTA exam. So this training should be enough for you to be familiar with it. We do kind of have an idea, you know, what controllers do and all of the different types of entities basically in MVC. There's a video out there too if you want to watch to create a Razor app. It's really cool. Razor is kind of the even newer up and coming thing that will generate an entire web-based MVC application for you based on different things. It'll even generate DDL to create your tables and different components for you. So there's a lot of cool stuff out there in the newest and coolest Razor apps. So that's, see, that MVC training, don't forget about that. It's due tomorrow night. It's pretty quick. Shouldn't take you a very long time. It's really kind of our last little points type assignment. So it's not any development or anything. It's just an online training thing. I know everybody's been looking already at the Jeopardy. I wanted to go ahead and go down to our MTA certification. If you do have any questions about the Jeopardy game or anything, feel free to let me know. Like I said, you should kind of be working on that on the side. I know it's hard to have two big projects going, but we need to start working on, you know, expanding our brains and our abilities to do that, to work on multiple things at once, because we usually have to do that at work. So along the same lines, let's start getting ready for our MTA exam. First of all, there are two links in Canvas for you. The MTA certification, the final certification, is where I want you to upload your score, your PDF score report when you get done with the exam. The exam passing score is a 70, so our final is worth 70 points. So that means if you pass with a 90, you got 20 bonus points in the final category, and that would offset your Jeopardy project. So there's a chance that you could improve your score there if you were concerned about that. So anyways, that's how it's set up in Canvas, is 70 points. Anything over 70 points is bonus points, because 70 is the passing score. So let's look at this document, preparing for your exam. Make sure I'm not missing anybody here. Nobody's popped in. I have a lot of links on this one. And if you look at this Pearl Trees link, it's a bunch more links to different resources for C#. So you can definitely find a lot of training available. It can almost be overwhelming and can kind of distract you from the exam. So I tried to kind of focus everything here in a grid for us so that we could really kind of think about what's important. If you look at the blue things, the blue color coded things, these are like study guides, sample questions, flashcards, things like that. The yellowy gold things are more like actual courses or training material that is available. And the pink ones are really, really, really important things. So that's why they're kind of like red. So let's start at the very top. I'm going to look at this very first link, the Microsoft Software Developer Exam. And this is a website link. And it says over here in the notes, this is the official Microsoft website with information about the exam. So this is the official exam that you'll be taking. Notice the cost. You, of course, don't have to worry about that because this is an OTC paid thing through Certiport. So your cost would be $0. But this is how you would go about taking the exam if you were doing it on your own from the outside. So if you were just a normal person that wasn't a student and you wanted to take the Software Development Fundamentals exam, you would come to this website and schedule it, and it would be $127. You would schedule to take it through an exam facility, just kind of like we're going to be taking it. So we're set up as a Certiport facility, so that's why you guys can take it through us. So that first link is just information to tell you about the exam, if there was anything ever you wanted to know about it. Okay, so now we know everything about that one. Let's look at the next one. Certiport has partnered with Microsoft to give these exams to students. So this is the official Certiport site about MTA exams and all of the different resources, practice material, and things that they have available. So again, you can look through that site and see if there's any information there that helps you with it. But the most important thing you'll find at the Certiport site is this MTA exam study guide. And it's so important that I just have it here for you in a separate link. So we'll be coming back to that. That's going to be our main study material. But I want to kind of skip past it for right now so we can look at some of these other resources. First of all, Microsoft Learning Paths. Does this show up like this for you? Do you see all of these paths? Okay, good. This is, again, a change. Microsoft had a specific course that you could walk through, you know, in a non-paid environment to go through the C# training material, and that has kind of migrated into the bit bucket, I guess, and it's been replaced by these learning paths. So these are brand new. I've not been through them. They are things that have just become available. So this would be new training for new programmers, all the way to kind of more advanced stuff. If you look at these training paths, this might be exactly the perfect way to split it up because they focused on specific topics. So if you're concerned about a certain area, if you find that that's an area that you feel like you're weaker in, or one of your lesser strengths, as they like to say, then you could just come and focus on that learning path. Some that are really important right off the bat: basic operations on numbers in C#, basic string formatting, literal and variable values. These things are really, really short, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But these are going to review topics that you haven't seen for at least a year, you know, maybe longer, because it's going to be material that you saw at the beginning of C#1. And if you remember back, that far, these topics may not have been super meaningful to you at that point. You were just trying to get through it, trying to write that first program, trying to get things to work. So right now, if you review some of these really, really basic learning paths, they're going to be super meaningful to you, and you're going to remember what's in here right away, because you'll be, oh yeah, okay, I remember that. That was not something that I really understood at the time, but now that I look through it again, it makes perfect sense. They are going to ask you questions like, what's the best data type to store a certain piece of information? And they're going to expect you to be able to differentiate between data types like bit and string and double. And of course, it's mostly the numeric data types that we have to be pretty knowledgeable on, the different sizes, because we want to make sure we're using the smallest data type that we can. Okay, so that was Microsoft Learning Paths. The next link is to Quizlet. There are a few Quizlet decks available. I have one, some other people have some. You could probably find some more. So anytime you're bored, sitting somewhere waiting for something, get a flashcard app downloaded on your phone and flip through Quizlet decks. Next, in the green, because it costs money, the official MTA Ebook. So this is the official textbook for the exam that we're taking. It's a Wiley text. It has this really nice beachy scene that has nothing to do with C#, I don't know why, but it's very nice. And if you have a Scribd subscription or capability, you can download it. Otherwise, it costs. Next, the official practice test link. Again, it's green because it costs money. This is Measure Up. They do have the official practice test for the MTA exam. If you search through and find your exam, make sure you find the right one. You're looking at about $100 for that practice exam. They do quite a bit on licensing. They do allow some sharing. So if that's something that you're interested in, you might want to group with others to take a look at it. I do think you'll be okay without it. I think that it does give you a little bit of extra comfort, but everybody's been fine without the practice tests. Some other practice resources that are available are exam cram flashcards. These are freebies, and so they're not as fancy as Quizlet flashcards. They don't have like as many different apps or as different ways of using them. And you can see they have a lot of ads because they're free. And so there's a lot of flashcards in this one. Ensure Pass, another test prep site. That's a download. If you take a look at it, you'll see that it has a bunch of practice questions. And as you get used to the practice questions, you'll see there's a lot of reading, and then there's some possible answers. So the way the MTA exam works, the software development one especially, is it kind of gives you the background and a scenario, and then it asks you for the best possible answer. So that means there's more than one right answer, right? So don't be surprised when you look at it and you think, well, that's right, and that's right too, because both of those points or both of those answers would probably give you some points. The righter one will give you more points than the one that is lesser right, if that makes sense. So yes, there can be more than one right answer. Exam Bible sample questions. Again, this is a practice test facility that I've just been able to get some practice questions from. You can see these are formatted completely differently. They're short, to the point, don't have that scenario type aspect. Lots of different ways to practice. Now, Wikiversity, I really like this one. This one gets rid of the glitz and the glamour and just gets down to the nuts and bolts of the information that you really need. If you look at that, at this Wikiversity course, they actually say that it's pretty much geared towards the exam you guys are taking. They have each of the lessons mapped to one of your objectives in your exam. So like the core programming stuff, they talk about data types, if statements, looping, and try-catch statements. So I mean, they just are very, very specific in this. They do have some information for you to read, lots of links, but it's pretty specific about the actual material that you need to be up on. Brain dump is some more sample questions. I think I have that downloaded somewhere. Let me check. Go to 6 a.m. Yeah, some of these are kind of duplicate each other. Sorry about that, just try to grab things. Okay, and then the last three things are knowledge material. This first one, the heap versus the stack. All of the material that we've used, all of the textbooks that we've used have referred to the heap and the stack and value data and different and object data, but nobody ever gets really specific into trying to explain to you the difference between value data and reference data and the stack and the heap. And this document gets really, really into the difference, talks about value types, reference types. This document has really important information in it for you for preparing. So we'll take a closer look at this next time. But definitely go through this one. So like I said, there's lots of material available. It can be a little bit overwhelming. The pink stuff, again, super important stuff that we haven't had anyplace else. All of the rest are things that can be helpful and fill in the blanks. So let's take a look at this study guide. See who we've got here today. We've got most everybody, I'm thinking. What I'd like to do is go through in alphabetical order, and we'll just be doing like some popcorn reading, only not really popcorn reading because we're all over the place. What I want to do is we'll go from one person to the next and read a paragraph or two through this study guide material so that we're all really focused and paying attention on the material. And the way the study guide is split up, each different objective for your MTA exam has a separate color, and each color has a couple of topics. The topics will give us a scenario and just 3 or 4 questions. So in the scenarios, we'll probably just have one person read through that material and we'll all discuss what the right answer is, and then we can look at what the right answer is and make sure we've got it correct. This study guide, just like the Wikiversity course, gets really specific and just focuses on the essential objectives. So it doesn't get super, super far off into the little details. Now, the introduction is really important, but I have a lot of people in here that were also in the sequel class on Thursday, where we read through basically the same piece of material. So if you weren't in here, make sure you read through this because the introduction is part of the study guide, so it is fair game for questions. Now, this next section talks about different careers that are available through Microsoft. This again is really similar to what we were looking at last time, but yet it's different. So we will go through and read this, even though it's very, very similar. I'm going to get a list of people up here so that I can have an alphabetical order list and try to go through it. Okay. Today you're our first. He's going to start this.
Most IT solutions or infrastructure built on large sub-technologies require proficiency With one or all of the following products often referred to as the Microsoft stack. Microsoft Windows Server as a data center or development platform. Microsoft SQL Server as a data and business intelligence BI platform. Microsoft Visual Studio as a suite of application lifecycle management tools. MTA is the starting point of Microsoft technology certifications, providing aspiring technologists with the fundamental knowledge essential to succeed with continued studies and a successful career with technology.
We'll go to Mary if you want to switch then. Mary, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you.
Preparing for and becoming MTA certified helps you explore a variety of career paths in technology without investing a lot of time and money in a specialized career path. When you find a path that is right for you, Microsoft Learning Products and Certification can help you prepare and guide your longer-term career planning. If you already know that you want to start building a career in technology, MTA preparation and certification is a recommended entry point. Becoming MTA certified shows that you have a firm working knowledge of the fundamental IT concepts critical for success with intermediate learning and certification, such as Microsoft Certified Technology Specialist. Moreover, Microsoft certification demonstrates an individual commitment of self-investment and confidence to take his or her knowledge and skills to the next level with an industry-recognized credential.
Awesome. Jacob.
MTA is not a career certified, meaning that employers recognize you as job ready, but it is the first step towards the career goal and can help differentiate you for an internship or to college admissions committees. As you prepare for your first job focusing on technology, be sure that you are equipped with an MCTS credential, that the intermediate level certification that validates the Microsoft product and technology use. The MTA certification path on the next page shows you the MTA exams that are recommended prior to taking some of Microsoft's intermediate technology certifications, MCTS.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I'm on stage, but you can handle it. So, a few things that are really important in this. First of all, the Microsoft stack. And I've seen guest speakers or different people in the industry mention this, and kind of students' eyes kind of glaze over, like, what are they talking about the stack? Well, that's what they mean. All of the different products that comprise the server backbone of our network, our databases, and our development tools. So you guys are looking around, you can see valuable people are going to be people that have a handle on more parts of that stack, right? The more parts of the stack that you can manage and administer, the more valuable you are. So MTA is not necessarily the certification that, according to Microsoft, identifies you as a software developer. The MCTS certification is. But lucky for us in Springfield, the companies around are happy with the MTA exam. They feel like that's a good enough credential for their entry-level people. So that's what we're seeing, even though Microsoft says, no, it should be a step above. If you look at the next page, you'll see those steps above. So we're in the developer path here for this class. So we'll be taking the software development fundamentals exam, the MTA that's down there at the bottom. It's the foundation, it's the foundational path. Now, some of you have already taken the web dev fundamentals too. So you've got a lot of that foundational path built. They say that above that, you could be doing .NET certifications, and that's about it. There's no higher certifications than that. So you're in pretty good shape. Now, the job roles that we have, again, we looked at these in the other class, so we'll just go over them quickly. But surprisingly enough, I have seen MTA exam questions about these job roles. So the database administrator is the one who's going to be working with databases. Team player, why? Because they have to work with developers and users and make sure that all of the design is correct, that it works for everything. Our server administrators, they're our network people. We don't really have any server administration classes in the CIS program, right? You would have to go to the NET program to take those classes. So remember, if they say something about being an expert in Active Directory, that's a server administrator. We don't ever really mess with that much over here. Now, our computer support technicians are like our help desk people. They're the ones that work for, you know, the company and are running around fixing computers or work for somebody else and are contracted to come in and fix computers. Our web developer should be pretty familiar with that job role based on your web classes. And then our Windows developer role is what we're working with Visual Studio and C# in our class. You guys all are aware how valuable your certification is. It's important. When we first started giving certification exams, some students would be really reluctant to take them, but now everybody knows how valuable they are and that it's so much better than just taking a final that doesn't really amount to any sort of credential in the field other than, well, I finished this class. So it's really important. You guys are doing such a double duty working towards these certifications right now, and it's such a hard time, and it's so important to be working towards your future now instead of just stressing, which could be really easy. You know, a lot of people are doing that. So good job. You should give yourselves a pat on the back. You know, I don't want you to break your arms or anything, patting yourselves on the back, but close, close. All right, understanding core programming. We're going to start here with the green. And in our first scenario, we'll go on into it. We want to make sure we're just looking at the scenario and not sneaking ahead to look at the answers. Ivy, can you read this scenario for us?
Understand computer storage and data types. Ken is a soccer coach who has a difficult time keeping track of all of his players. At the beginning of the season, each of his players filled out a paper with personal data, but it always takes him a long time to find the information he needs. Cassie is one of his brightest players, and Ken knows that she is a computer programmer. Tired of shuffling through the huge stack of papers, he asks her to create a program to keep track of his records. The program will need to store each player's full name, jersey number, age, gender, height and weight, as well as goals scored and number of games played. Cassie agrees to develop the software for him, but she has some decisions to make. Do you want me to read the questions?
Sure, let's try that first one.
Which of the following data types would be the best choice for keeping track of players' ages and jersey numbers using the least amount of memory?
Okay, so what do we think there? How big of a number can we store in a byte data type? Does anybody remember? It's what?
Like no more than 200. I can't remember the exact number.
Good job. Oh, look, W3 Schools has a little fancy thing. Let's see what they say. Oh, there we go. They do have a good one. Oh, but they don't have it, do they? So with an int, we're going to take up 4 bytes of storage. We can go from, what is that, 2 billion or so? Positive, negative, or if we're signed. Long is 8 bytes. A float is 4 bytes, but it's going to allow a decimal place, so it stores fractional numbers. So our range can't be as specific as it can for an int. Our double is 8 bytes. So what can we do with a, what was that one we wanted to check on? There it is. Byte. Greg was right. He was really close. We can hold up to 255 would be our largest number. Oops, that other one, the next one down looked better. Here we go. Here's a Microsoft site. So if I'm working with a byte data type, I can have values. Since it's 8 bits, remember 8 bits that make up that byte, I can have values from 0 to 255. If I was using signed values, so I had a signed byte, I could go -128 to 127. So you shouldn't need to remember those specific numbers. What you need to remember is, how much space it takes up. So yeah, anything that is less than 250 or so, we're safe to use a byte with. So good one. Start out with that very first one. All right, number 2, Ivy.
As with any program, some data will be stored on the heap while other data is placed on the stack. Which of the following will be stored on the heap?
Player's name, height, and age. Well, they have a hint over here, and they say, remember, string is a reference data type. Okay, I'll remember that. But I still need to refer to this other document about the heap versus the stack. So let me get back to it. I thought I had it still open, but I've messed it up, so hang on. I'm going to go back to our class. In our prep stuff, I'm going to look at that heap versus stack information. We remember that a data that is passed as a parameter is passed by value, right? So that would be a value type. So if we were passing by reference, where if our method updated the data, it would be updated in the calling method also, then that would be a reference type. So we're used to those value types and reference types, but what do they mean here when they say that a string, I've lost it, let me get it back to it. I'm just bouncing all around. A string is a reference type. So is a reference type stored on the stack or the heap?
Stored on the heap.
Find it? Where do you see it in there? Right here. 2 golden rules. A reference type always goes on the heap. A string is always a reference type. So we can always say that a string is going to go on the heap. Number 3. Can you read that one for us, Ivy?
I'm sorry.
Sorry. She's looking at that heap stuff.
It would make sense to store one of these variables as a char. Which one? Player name, weight, or gender?
See, yay! Now I love the way this study guide starts out with everybody going, wham, it just slammed me right in the face. What do you mean value types and reference types? That's why I wanted to give you that information right away, because some of our basic things in C# can be things that we didn't really have to spend a lot of time studying in order to write programs, right? So a little bit of it can be things that we have to review. But don't worry, we're going to get to parts that are super easy too. This one was just one of those ones that it's like, what? This isn't something that we really had to worry about a whole lot. So we've got it though. A string is always a reference type. So that's going to take care of a lot of questions that have anything to do with value types and reference types. Great for everything else. Looks good. Now, some details here. About integers, floating points, value types. So make sure you look at those. And then the fast track help, some of those links are old and obsolete, so you can use those with caution. Ooh, we skipped Ethan. Ethan, are you there? Can you do this scenario for us?
Yeah. Rena has created a simple DVR application to record her favorite television programs, but her code has some bugs. She is a big sports fan and always wants to record the broadcast of sporting events, even if they conflict with another of her favorite programs. For non-sport favorites, she does not want to record reruns. However, if the scheduled time of her favorite program conflicts with another favorite, it will broadcast again later. She wants to wait and record it for the future. Unfortunately, her programs is not working correctly. Many television programs that she doesn't want are being recorded. The programs she does wants are only being recorded if they are broadcast later. And here's the C# code. Which line is causing shows to be recorded now even if there is a conflict?
Now this one's kind of interesting because does question number 2 give you the answer to question number 1? Sort of, doesn't it? Is that the right answer? 8?
Do you want me to read question 2?
Oh, that's okay. I was like giving everybody a chance to look at it. Do I?
Maybe on 5, because it's recording the show now.
So what line do you think it is?
That's where the conflict is, at 5.
At 5? Why is 5 in conflict?
Because it's an or, if it is a rerun.
It's definitely a suspect. So we're saying if not is conflict or not is rerun. That does seem like poor logic. Let's continue on though with number 2. Can you read it for us, Ethan?
Yeah, how should line 8 be rewritten?
Thank you. What do you think is wrong with line 8? They bring it up. Does anybody see it? Should there be a semicolon and an if statement? So it's written as B, right? B, if is conflict and is on later semicolon. So that's basically nullifying our if statement, right? So it's saying there is no if statement body. So that means that record show later is executing irregardless of the outcome of that if statement. Do you see that one? So I do agree though that line 5 is suspicious, but line 8 is definitely causing our problem because of that semicolon. So can you read number 3 for us, Ethan? Doing so good.
Rena has placed 2 control structures inside her first control structure. This technique is known as...
What's that one? Nesting. You're right. You got it. It was easy. Some of the others are like, what? Okay, so let's take a look and make sure we got this. Line 5. So the conditional or returns true if the show isn't a rerun, even if is conflict is true. So you guys were right on that one. And I really, really like the way you focused on it, even though I said, what's wrong with line 8? Because it's asking you about line 8 in the next question. So there's a problem with both of them, but line 5 is the one that's causing the error that they were asking about. So really good. And then line 8, we saw that that semicolon is causing us trouble. Those kinds of syntax errors are the things that you should keep your eyes peeled for. A semicolon where it doesn't belong. That's a common one for them to use in the exam. And then of course it is nesting. You got that one perfect. Now in the essential details, they talk some more about using ors and how it can get us in so much trouble, especially with those not conditions. So good job zeroing in on that one. Let's see then, who do we have? Stuart, can you read this next one about Adriana?
Sure. Adriana is creating a point of sale cash register application for fourth copy. Her responsibility is to create a password protected login system to ensure the security of the system. She has finished the login window and password check, but she is having trouble implementing it correctly. Adriana's project manager wants the system to give the user 3 attempts to log in correctly before logging the system. In Adriana's most recent version, the system prompts the user for a name and password 3 times, even if the user correctly logs in on the first try. After the 3rd attempt, the system always locks, even if the input is correct. And question 1, Adriana is using a for loop, which works best with.
So what do you think about that one? A, B, or C? Thinking about my deep hatred of break statements, which of those is correct? A. So if we have a for loop, we're usually saying, you know, for 1 to 10, do this. And then if something happens inside of there where logically we decide this loop should end, we have to physically break it, right? We don't have the choice like we do with a while loop of handling an unknown number of iterations. Not as well anyways. Okay, what about number 2, Stuart?
What control structure would be best for Adriana's login system? A for loop, a while loop, or a recursive method?
What do you think? While, because that way we could just say, you know, while it's not right, keep asking for password. What about number 3?
How many times does a do while loop execute? At least 0, at least 1, or at least 2 times?
So if we have a bottom controlled loop structure like that, how many times will it execute? At least 1, right? Because it's not going to evaluate that while condition until it's already executed that first time. Get some weird messages, sorry. They're just so loud. All right. Looking at a definition of iteration, and iteration in this context is 1 trip through the loop. So in your answer section, again, for the essential details, they go through a little bit of really important points about each of the different loop types. Realize that the words that are in this study guide are worth a lot because these are very, very focused information to just meet the objectives of the exam. So our for loop based on the value of a control variable. And they're saying the while loop executes based on a Boolean expression. So just a little bit different way of looking at it, just a little specific, I guess, is what I'd say. because sometimes they're more specific about which case you should use a for loop or a while loop in than we would be because we're trying to learn them. All right. Rich, are you there? Can you read about Lionel? He was there. Richard. Where are you, sir? He was there just answering just a second ago. Let's go on to Isaac. Isaac, are you around?
Yeah.
Nope, we can't hear you. Richard is here. Hang on, Isaac. We'll go to Rich. We can't hear you.
Okay.
And we'll be right back to you, Isaac, if we can get Rich to work. Rich, speak, if you could. We don't hear you at all. Are you muted? Let me make sure you're not muted. Nope, you're not muted here. We usually hear you. Well, it's just being weird. We would love to hear you, but we're going to skip to Isaac. Isaac, jump in.
Lionel is a student at the School of Fine Arts. To help pay his tuition, he took a job in the school student's record department. He developed a program that calculates each student's grade point average. He thought it would be simple because he knows the formula is total grade points divided by total credit hours attempted. However, Lionel's program crashed with new students who have not attempted any credit hours. Instead of just giving them a GPA of 0.0, here is his code and C# line numbers added. Given what we know about the problem, what is the most likely exception this code will throw?
What do you think? They told us, right? Their GPA is 0, so divide by 0. What about number 2? Number 2 says, what structure should Lionel use? Is it a do catch, a catch exception, or try catch? Try catch. You remember. Number 3, which of the following should Lionel's catch block probably include? Should we set the credit hours attempted to 1, or set the total GPA probably to 4, or set the GPA to 0? What do you think? Aaron says C. You agree? I agree. Let's check. Yep. Very good. So we get that one down. All right, perfect. We're at a really good stopping point. We'll go on to this next section. Now, as I mentioned, this first green section can be kind of stressful for everybody because it's like, wait, I know what I'm doing, and you do. Now you see that some of these details, some of the layers have to be reinvestigated a little bit before you're completely prepared to take this exam. You've been doing C# for at least 2 semesters. You do have to go back and review some of that material from the very beginning of the very first semester. And you do have to add a little to it because, like I mentioned, they talked about value types and reference types, but that really did not hold much meaning to us at the beginning of learning C#. So that's material that has to be explored. Let's see, Rich typed something really good in the chat before we go. Said we have 4 main types of things we'll be putting in the stack, and Heap as our code is executing. Value types, reference types, pointers, and instructions. So those are the things we need to be clear on, which goes into the stack and which goes into the heap. So do
Can you hear
review
me
those.
now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Hooray.
So, yay, how are you?
I'm alive.
Good. I'm glad everybody is. That's all we can do at this point, right? Have you guys seen us in the national news with our giant church with all the maskless people? And oh my God, I think they're going, oh my God, it's going to be like The Simpsons. They're going to cover us with a giant bubble dome to keep us separate from the rest of the world because of James River Assembly of God. Oh well. Hopefully everybody's staying safe. I am glad that we've made it through the semester so safely so far. And I will see you Wednesday. Today we're going to stop here and everybody either work on your group project or your final project. And let me know if you have any questions, have any problems. Is everybody okay otherwise? Okay, okay? Okay, I will see you Wednesday. Have a great day.